Thank you, or Hawa. So I want to say first, uh, it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. And Hinokupuyem Hatenam. Good morning. My name is David. Um, so I want to say that not only is it an honor and a pleasure to be here, but it's something that is certainly very, very important. And I try to take every opportunity that I can to meet with groups such as yours because it's so important that we all work together, that we network. As Tony was saying a little bit ago, he was saying, yeah, we can't save them all, but we can do our best to do as much as we possibly can for every single one that goes missing, and all of the components that are involved in that type of a case. Um, as Lenia said, I'm originally from Isleta Pueblo, but I came out to California. I was 17 years old when I joined the Marine Corps, and I came out, and that was my last duty station. So I started my law enforcement career out here, um, and I'm based out of Southern California. And so I started my law enforcement career, and um, I had my own path that I had planned out. For myself, for my career. My bosses, because of my military experience and other stuff, they kind of had a different idea for me. And so when I started, their idea for me was that I was going to go into special investigations, and then after that, I was going to go into special operations. And so I worked in special operations for, I'm going to say about 8 years. And that had nothing to do with missing persons. Um, and so although I had handled a lot of, missing children, adults, elderly cases, this was something completely different and a completely different turn in the trajectory of my career. And so, what I did there was I did executive protection, dignitary protection, threat assessment, threat management, intelligence, covert technical ops, those kind of things. Um, and so based on my background and my training and experiences, one day I got a call from Major League Baseball and said, "Hey, I think um, you would be a good fit as a security specialist." And so I interviewed and I got hired by Major League Baseball, and I went to work for them. I actually worked for them for about 15 years. But so during that time, I thought, well, it'd be a great idea if, since I'm doing all of this stuff, I'm traveling all over the world, I'm doing all these things, it'd be a great idea to start a company and do that for when I retire. That's going to make, it's going to have a lot of really good experiences and more importantly, making a lot of money. And so that was my plan. And then in 2010, um, everything was perfect as far as my plans for the future. But in 2010, I went out for a run, and I came back, and I'm uh, watching the TV while I'm stretching and stuff. And I turn on the news. There's a little girl that went missing in San Diego County, a little girl by the name of Chelsea King. And so I thought, I'm, I I grew up hunting. I was in the Marine Corps. I'm in law enforcement. I can sustain myself out in the wilderness for as long as I need to. So I'm going to go out and just volunteer to search. And so that's what I did. I went to San Diego County, and I just said, hey, I've got this expertise or some skills that I want to just use to help and see if we could find this girl. And so they put me in charge of a rough terrain team, and we searched for a couple of days, and um, we covered some really rough areas, and we didn't find her on the following day. Right after we were done with our lunch, one of the volunteers came over and she said, "Yeah, we just found, or they just found Chelsea." And she was found in the lake, amidst a bunch of trash and debris and stuff at Lake Hodges. And so we all just gathered around in a circle, and we just we prayed and we cried. And that event just really affected me, I think, in the sense of what's important, what's important in life, and how you serve others. And my kids were around the same age, as Chelsea, in that age range, and so that was another thing too. And I also thought, just like Tony was saying, what if this is your relative? What if this is your child? Would you want the absolute best work being done? Would you like to have the most efficient, dynamic response? Would you like for your agency to be completely prepared if a child went missing? And most important, and I say all of these things because I'll bring that up in my presentation here in a minute, but most important, wouldn't you want to try to prevent it if you possibly could? And so that changed completely what I did from that day on. I switched to, what it did was it created the spark that lit the fire. And so from that day on, I switched to wanting to be very good at finding people. And when people ask me what I do now, I usually just say I find people. That's what I guess the main point of it is that trying to with the organizations that I represent and the networks that I formed and all of these things, the thing is all about finding missing kids. Uh, so I retired in 2018, and um, I the two significant things that I did when I retired was, um, I stayed on to work in search and rescue, and I started doing my training and my experience towards tracking and also land search operations, and um, and also I applied to be a member of Team Adam with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I'll either say the National Center or NCMEC, just easier to use the acronym. But so I got hired with NCMEC in 2018, started in 2019, and went through their training. Um, and almost immediately, right before I finished the training, I asked if I could be involved in Native outreach. I just wanted to give back to my community. And they said, yeah, it makes sense. We have a special projects unit where we're trying to build up our Native outreach and see how much resources that we can provide to Native missing. So I started doing that. I went to one conference in San Diego County at Sequan, and um, I met a representative from the Strong-Hearted Native Women's Coalition, and I was doing resource table. And the second day of the conference, she came over and she asked me. She says, "Hey, we have a cancellation for one of our presenters for tomorrow, and she said, "Can you present?" And I had never presented before. I had never done anything like this with NCMEC. And although I had done some training with the sheriff's department early on, this is something that was completely new to me. But and like anything else, I said, yeah. So I did a presentation, and it was amazing to see how many people that came up to me afterwards, families and friends and, people, relatives, advocacy groups that were talking about some of the same themes about the inconsistency in the reporting and some, with concerns that we never knew that, no one was looking for my adult cousin, or we never knew that we couldn't report, or we always thought that we had to wait, 72 hours, or all of these different things, all of these different questions. And so what I did was I started a network um, for Native Missing, and anytime I had a child case, I would refer it to NCMEC. And anytime we had an adult case, we would work it through our network. And so we started doing that. And then in 2021, I got a call from National Criminal Justice Training Center. Um, it's a initiative within the Amber Alert program, and it's called Amber in Indian Country. And we do specific training resources and equipment for Native communities. And so, along with NCMEC, I'm also traveling all over the place to provide training for tribal law enforcement, for tribal communities um, on how to keep their kids safe. And sometimes what we'll do is we'll do a child abduction tabletop exercise, and it provides the opportunity for each Native community to do a self-assessment of what their needs are. And so um, that's pretty much about me and my background. But so I want to go ahead and bring up the PowerPoint here and go over that. If I could share that. Okay. Okay, so my apologies. I'm using the same slide that I did for this past weekend. Um, but it has all of the different resources and stuff. So basically, who we are. The National Center was formed in 1984 after John Walsh, who you all know from America's Most Wanted and other programs. Him and his wife, Reve, were living in Florida. Their son, Adam, who Team Adam is named after, was abducted and murdered. And there was themselves, along with other missing child advocacy groups that formed together, because there was a lot of problems. It was really difficult to put resources and information on missing children together. And so they formed the National Center, and it serves as the main clearinghouse for information and resources on missing and exploited children. It's partially funded, government funded, and partially private, so it's public and private. And our mission is basic. It's just finding missing children, reducing child exploitation, and preventing future victimization. Three things that I always talk about in every training that I go to, every presentation that I give, is the secret sauce for, and it's no secret because I talk about it till I'm blue in the face, but prevention, preparation, and response. And as I mentioned before, we want to have that quick, efficient, dynamic response when a child goes missing. Those first 3 hours are critical. Studies have shown that over 75% of children who are abducted and murdered are murdered within the first 3 hours. And yes, stranger abductions are very rare. We get that, but it's it's best if we use the same concepts for as many missing children cases as we possibly can, and really all. I mean, because they're all super important. Um, so prevention, preparation, and response. We want to prepare as best we can by putting in place the things we're going to need today, so that tomorrow, when something happens, we have some of these things or all of these things in place um, ahead of time. And then we have, prevention. If we could prevent the incident altogether, and in many cases we can. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes uh, we have no control over some things. But if we can, the majority of these incidents that happen, then that's great. That's what we should do. Finding missing children. So when a child goes missing, or there's suspected child sex trafficking or exploitation, um, we want to be contacted. So our number is up here on the screen. We are a 24/7 operation. We always have somebody in our call center that will take your call, and um, will immediately assign it to a case manager. Once it's in the hands of the case manager, then they're going to focus on this case, on what's needed. If it's a critical missing where somebody was just abducted or went missing, we don't know how what happened or whatever. They're going to start putting in place some of those things like the secondary Amber Alert. If it was initiated by an Amber Alert, we do a secondary Amber Alert that's more targeted to certain areas that we think might be more effective. What they'll also do immediately is start contacting our partners, our commercial partners, our media partners, to start getting the word out wherever we think it's going to be the most effective. Um, and then what they're going to do is they're going to contact Team Adam. So on call 24/7, either law enforcement, a group home, foster parents, families can all contact the National Center. It's good, and it's best when we do have the connection and the support from law enforcement when we get a call, because um, we need to be able to work with them and the information that they're getting, and you'll see why more as we go along. But it's super important. So if you're a family member, you're a parent, for example, and a child goes missing, um, you call into the National Center. There, we're going to be able to help you with certain things like family support and all of these things, but we need to be connected with that law enforcement agency. So it's also a good thing for that person who's calling to recommend that connection to law enforcement. And we're going to call, obviously, but it's good to have also the recommendation from the family. Um, our case managers will create, disseminate posters. They'll, like I said, secondary Amber Alerts, media alerts, all of these different things. They'll review and share any and all leads, new information. We'll start working on obtaining and sharing the leads with law enforcement. Gather information. Our case analysis unit is great at gathering a lot of information. We have referrals to family advocacy services. And we'll coordinate with specialized law enforcement resources, call out Team Adam, federal liaisons that we have on site. Um, and Team Adam is very important because Team Adam is going to go out to that agency within, well, as quick as you can. I literally have a backpack with all the things that I'm going to need to sustain myself for a few days. And it's just a matter of throwing on my NCMEC response uniform, and I head out to law enforcement to see how I can help them. And what I will help them with is consultation, assessment, and a lot of resources. So one of the things that we also do is the long-term missing cases. So as a member of Team Adam, I have worked on a lot of long-term missing cases to assist law enforcement with new strategies, new technologies, new ways of uh, um, reviewing, examining DNA, and processing evidence. A lot of different things that we can do. We can do age progressions, a lot of forensic assistance that we can do, case reviews. It's great to be able to take a case that is, 20, 30 years old and see what was not done, what could have been done differently, what we recommend, what are some of the new strategies and technologies that are available, and then make recommendations to law enforcement on how we can help on those. Um, One thing that I love is that at NECMEC we never stop looking. As long as law enforcement has an open case, we will continue to assist law enforcement in trying to find this child. We had a case recently where one of the cases that I assisted on, the child had been taken as an infant, and he was just recently found, and this was almost 40 years later. Um, there's another one that's even the child had been missing even longer. I don't have the details on that one. I just got an email from one of our bosses, and everybody was very happy about that. But it was even longer than that. So um, we want to help to provide hope, but we don't want to give false hope. But we still want to be able um, to help out as long as there is an active case that's out there. Like I said, is NECMEC, we never stop looking. So once we get that initial Amber Alert, a notification, then you could see we can target certain areas for a secondary Amber Alert, and we'll contact all of our commercial partnerships that we have to start targeting those areas with media exposure. And like I talked about with Team Adam, we deploy and provide on-site assistance, critical case deployments. If you look at the stars, and that's constantly changing, that's where we have Team Adam consultants that are living in these areas. And we are expected to respond within 4 hours. Most of the time, it's within 1 or 2 hours. My area of operation um, is Southern California, and I recently responded to a missing child case on the Paula Reservation, and it was within an hour, hour and a half. Um, Another really neat thing was I was at a MMIP summit just the other day, and the sheriff's department came running up to me and really, kind of wide-eyed, and I thought, oh my gosh, did I do something? Am I about to get arrested, or what's going on here? And so they led me outside, and they said, we have a child that just went missing, and can you help? And I'm like, yeah, of course. So we got briefed up. We went out to where the command post was being set up, and within that time, the initial search, they were able to locate the child. So I was very happy and relieved to not only that the child was found, but also that their first thought was National Center. We need to have Team Adam on this. So that also worked out really well. And then you see here just some of the commercial partners that we have available to us, over 200 photo partners. We have all of these different ways of getting the word out through our partnerships that we've already established, whether it's uh, print media, television, social media, posting at different places like Walmarts and all these different things, we can get the word out pretty quick to a lot of different locations. Our analytic support, if you look at all of these sources of information that are listed right here, we have our corporate data partners, our resource management, our public records. All of this is um, is worked with our analytics unit. So our case analysis unit, as soon as we put in a request for information, they search out all of these different sources to try to get us information that law enforcement agency may need or that I may need in the field to be able to start knowing what areas to target, what areas to search, those kind of things. And so we have a vast variety of resources for information for our analysts to work. And so these are the federal liaisons that we have, all the federal law enforcement liaisons that are available to us immediately. So we don't have to go out and go through the book of business cards and or go through the contacts in our phone to hopefully that they're updated. It's just a matter of saying, hey, I need somebody from HSI because of this. They're going out of the country. We're suspecting that they're traveling for the north or southern border and that they're going to cross into Canada or Mexico. We can do that. Or maybe it involves the military, or maybe we need a cyber tip line assistance, access to labs, all kinds of different assistance that federal law enforcement can provide. We have access to them 24/7. And the only federal agency that we don't have immediate access to, sad to say, is BIA. It drives me absolutely bananas, and I am working on it. I literally have gotten meetings together and tried to make this happen, and I won't rest until we have some type of 24/7 liaison with BIA. But to this date, sorry to say, it hasn't happened yet. Our forensic services unit has access to and works in the latest and greatest state-of-the-art forensic analysis, examination, technology, and processing that there is. If you look at just some of the companies, corporations, partnerships that we have there for things like DNA analysis and collection and all of these different things. And one of the things that has really worked well for us is forensic genealogy. Forensic genetic genealogy it uses a lot of the genealogy companies that are out there now, and one of the cases that we had where the child was found after many years was through the use of forensic genetic genealogy, and so we're very happy to be able to partner with all of these agencies and corporations and companies that do this. And you see here some of our forensic imaging, our age progressions. And it's a whole science to it. And now I think it's also computer generated, so it's even more of a different science to it. But it takes comparisons of not only from the child at a certain age, but using also photos of parents and that and the like to be able to make an age progression. And many of them, most of them are pretty spot on. So I'm pretty happy about that. So the assistance and resources for families, we have crisis intervention, peer support, mental health and community referrals, reunification assistance, um, long-term support, prevention strategies, legal referrals. And one of our family resources is Team Hope. So if a child goes missing, we will call Team Hope to offer assistance, and they are made up of families, parents that have had children that have gone missing. So they can relate. There's empathy and sympathy, and there's information, and so things to do and not to do, and provide that kind of support. And also, what they'll do is they will refer and connect with local resources as well, so that so it's not all out of the Alexandria, Virginia office. It's, locally, how can we help and what kind of assistance can we provide? And so that is Team Hope and some of the resources that are offered. Family advocacy, legal intervention, options, crisis intervention. And legal intervention, there will probably be there'll be more advisory. I don't believe there are any actual legal assistance as far as lawyers that are available or anything like that. I don't believe that that's what that means. Mental health skills, education, prevention, community organizations, and like I mentioned, Team Hope. Our CST recovery services team is basically works in different regions of the country. There's information there on who to contact in the different regions. Obviously, we are in Region 5. And one thing that I will stress, and that it's important to know, is that the CST, Child Sex Trafficking Recovery Services team is not a 24/7 operation. So yes, if you call and a child needs assistance with recovery, a lot of times it'll be from law enforcement. We'll make that request. Um, they won't have somebody like Team Adam, that's just ready to go and ready to move. So it's just something to keep in mind, because I know we do have those cases where we have, we're looking at recovery, transportation, and all this stuff that may not be available. And I know we've had all of these different cases where, seems like a lot of these things happen on a weekend, on a Saturday or Sunday evening or something, when there's nothing available. But I would still encourage you to call, because there may be some way that we can help with that, when it's off hours or the weekend or something like that. They would still contact the case manager, contact Team Adam, and if there is some way that we possibly can assist with, we will. But just so you know, the CSC recovery is not a 24/7 operation. We have information and support resources for children on the autism spectrum. And one of the biggest things is just the response checklists, I think, for me. Um, And on that note, having not only done a lot of missing child cases, adult cases, elderly cases, those kind of things, and then having supervised others, and sometimes large scale operations that searched for somebody, even though I did that, the vast experience in there, I always wanted to make sure that I was using a checklist to make sure that that I wasn't missing anything, because sometimes you get involved in so many different things. Sometimes you're juggling so many things in one incident. Um, and maybe even managing the whole city that you're working in. Um, and so it's always good for law enforcement at any level to use those checklists to make sure that that if they're not very familiar with missing children that are on the autism spectrum, that at least they have a guide to go by. There's also tips for family and caregivers, model programs, connect modules, I'm sorry, where there is, online training. There's blogs on water, searching water and swim safety, because as we know, children on the autism spectrum many times are attracted to water. And then, of course, information on Team Hope and Team Adam. And these are just some of the things that our CST recovery team um, will assist with: recovery and safety planning, youth engagement strategies, and connections to resources. And one of the things to emphasize, though, on this is that if we aren't looking for these children and they're not reported, or if they're reported and there's not an actual search for them, that someone else will be searching for them. Someone won't have their best interest in mind. They're all exploited. There's no such thing to me as an endangered runaway. They are all endangered, because they are all exploited by whether it's trafficking, whether it's gangs, narcotics, whatever it is. They're going to somebody's going to be looking to exploit them. So that's why it needs to be properly documented, and there needs to be an active search. Our cyber tip line, from the calls that we received, it shows an increase in online enticement, and that's consistent. That continues. There's just so many ways out there of enticing our kids, of luring our kids. Um, And the biggest threat is access. It's not at one particular, like, oh, is it Roblox? Is it Fortnite? Is it, uh, talking online on the computer, Snapchat, or whatever it is? It's just the access. So the education and those areas of finding out what the threats, the vulnerabilities are, and how to combat those are very important. So we do have free NECMEC presentations and resources that are available. We not only have online presentations and training and resources, um, we have age-appropriate safety training for children, for guardians, for parents, community members. If you see the different age levels there, we can also have subject matter experts on certain things, talk to your group, just like I'm doing today. And I won't make myself out to be a subject matter expert in any of these things. My my expertise is in finding people, and so I don't necessarily I try to know some about these things, but I've always been of the thought that I'd rather be very good at something than average at a bunch of things. And so that's where my focus is, and that's why I'm with Team Adam. But we have some people who are very good at all of this when it comes to online enticement and luring and all of these things. Much more knowledgeable than I. And here we have other resources like activity guides, online games, peer education, videos, tip sheets, different presentations, Net Smarts, Kid Smarts, all of these different resources that are there for the prevention side and starting to get. And it's important not only for the children to know about these kind of things, but even more important, as caregivers, as parents. One of the things that I talked about in my in some of my trainings is how in our Native communities we've had there's been a lack of broadband and internet access in a lot of places throughout the country for a long time, and we're starting to correct that in a lot of places, but even still in many places we're not there yet. And what that causes, the ripple effect of that is that, parents, caregivers, a lot of times don't have the information on what the threats, what the vulnerabilities are, and how do we mitigate those things. And so this is a good place to start. There are many resources, and I want to emphasize that there are many resources out there to be able to see how we can deal with that. There's this resource on sexting, and um, we have a program that's called the Take It Down program. So if your child or someone that they know has explicit material, photos or other things that are out there online, that you can call our cyber tip line, and our people will assist in taking it down. And so, yeah, I know, it happens a lot of times where people make, bad decisions and some stuff goes up. Sometimes it happens that without their consent. And so it's good to have something like that to help them get it off the web. Let me back up here. That's the number right there. And then over here, you just click on that to make the cyber report. And then click on that. Is your explicit content out there? Our tribal fellowship program was created right around the time that I came on. So there's all these resources as far as specific analysis and data for each individual tribe that we can put together. But our fellowship program was being created when I first came on. It was fully implemented in 2021. And what it does is it has somebody specifically assigned to nothing else but working with Native communities and getting the word out and doing the outreach and just like me, just showing what's out there, what's available, so that everybody is on board with how to get the resources and how to get the help. We just brought in the brand new tribal fellow for this year. It hasn't been announced yet, so I won't announce it. I won't get ahead of my bosses, but Melissa McGee is still officially the tribal fellow, and she is from Oklahoma Choctaw. And before that, it was Mark Pooley who attended the MMIP awareness event here in Gallup this past week. And he is a Navajo Hopi, and very proud to say that after the tribal fellowship, he went on to lead all of the native DNA testing for unidentified human remains at University of North Texas. So they handle that nationally, and very proud to say that he went on to head that program. So And Melissa McGee is she is connected to NICWA, um, or maybe Oklahoma ICWA, but it's one of the ICWAs. And so there's a lot of that's a great connection and a great resource for that as well for tribes. And there's certain topics when it comes to Native communities, and you can go online and look at that, resources, data, and that kind of thing. DNA resources. I know that's a big thing right now with unidentified human remains. And so, what can we do? One, just like I mentioned before, prevention, preparation, and the response. And when we look at the prevention, we can start going online, see what's there for the response. Obviously, I'm always about our family resources and about Team Adam, getting the word out about the National Center and what's there, um, and just partnering and teaming up with NECMEC to better assist our tribal communities and what the needs are. Becoming a community education partner. We partner up for training with different organizations, and then providing some of those prevention training materials and for organizations. And there's a link for resources. I'll leave that up for a minute here. And there is my contact information. Um, I I always say, as far as questions and those kind of things when it comes to missing children, I'm always available. This is this is what I've dedicated my life's work now to do. And so I'm always available to assist with what I can. That's why I look like this. And but if you do have questions or needs or something that I can help out with, please uh, take a look and get a hold of me. And as far as one thing that I do want to mention before is my other organization that I work with is National Criminal Justice Training Center, Amber Indian Country. I'm going to say probably most areas of Navajo Nation have taken our training. But if you're in another tribal community and you haven't received at the very least the child abduction tabletop exercise, I would recommend it because it allows you to see what your needs are as far as resources, training, and equipment, and those kind of things. Um, so why that's so important is because I always use the analogy of the Barbie perspective. Barbie the toy being that bleep, she gets everything, right? In a lot of our tribal communities, we don't, and that's just a fact. We're looking at still battling to get decent broadband and Wi-Fi in a lot of our communities. We're battling to get a lot of resources, training, those kind of things. So it's there. Just get a hold of me, and and we'll look at what how we can set you up with some of those resources. And with that, Melania, am I taking questions now or? Yes, and that's a good question. If the child was under the age of 18, that's when we'll take the case. A lot of the times, the case will be referred to us when either when that child first went missing and then the child just hadn't been found for a long time, or a lot of times um, an agency will run into dead ends, and they're not really sure what direction, what their case strategy is, and then they'll say, "Okay, so let's do this." Sometimes it'll go to a cold case unit, and a cold case unit may say, "You know what, we need help with this," or it'll switch, as many investigative cases will do. They'll switch hands. Somebody will promote out or leave the agency or whatever, and then that case will be switched to another investigator. Sometimes it'll sit in a box for a long time. Hate to say it. Um, and not really be touched because it's looked at as, this thing went, there's really no more leads, there's really no interest in it, whatever. But um but sometimes they'll just resurrect the case for whatever reason, and then they'll call us for assistance, and sometimes it's just a matter of us digitizing the case, and so that it's not only on file so that they can work on it in a computer, but also so they can actually get a better view, maybe a chronological view or different ways of working it. And so sometimes we'll do something just as simple as that. Um, when a child goes missing, we consider that child 18 and under. However, at the request of law enforcement, sometimes we'll take cases that are where a child is, let's say, 21 years old, but has mental capacity of a child. Um,
Mhm.
Sometimes
Mhm.
there's other circumstances where we'll take them. I've yet to figure that out yet, exactly what the strict parameters are. So I would say if it's even a young adult, I would have law enforcement call and say, "Hey, can we help out with this? Can you help out?" And all you can get is either a yes or a no. But I have worked on cases where that child was no longer a child as far as age, but and mental capacity, they were still a child, um, and so we've helped out with those cases as well. They actually did know that I was a resource, and they actually did seek me out. But the reason why, and what was really so cool about that was that they have called me in the past for long-term missing case assistance, and when we had another child that went missing on one of the on tribal lands not too long ago, a few months ago, that they called. And so what's really important is building that relationship, and it holds true with every organization, everything that we do, right, is all about those relationships, right? Nobody wants to get a call from somebody you don't know, right? I mean, you really want to be able to get that call from that person that you've made that connection with. There's trust factors. There's uh, knowledge about what their capabilities are and aren't. And so it's super important what all of you are doing as far as making the connections and and doing those relationships are super important. And so yeah, that's why it was a really cool thing to be a part of that.
Thank you for clarifying that. I just remembered the part of you being scared if you were in trouble. Okay. We do have a question here from Renee. Her question is, what legal challenges do families of missing children face, and how can they navigate them?
Oh, in Indian country is a bunch of legal challenges. Okay. First off, we look at tribal sovereignty, right? Children in different native communities, right? Tribal courts. We also have there's just so much confusion about the jurisdictional issues, and then there's the reporting. For many years, how many of our families have our relatives have been bounced around from different agencies as far as reporting and all of these things. Is the person living, on tribal land, off tribal land? Are they a member of a tribal community? Are they registered members? Who's, the parents, what's their status as far as their tribal community? Um, how is this documented and who is it documented by, and who actually has legal law enforcement duties in this area? Because I went to I went to do a training in Wyoming, I remember, and I had the very first time that we did this training, nobody could really figure out who was their primary law enforcement. And then you have child custody. So now if you have a parental custody issue, right? And um, mother is, on Navajo Nation and father is on the Blackfeet reservation, and those kind of things. I don't even begin to figure out how they are going to solve those and how they get solved. One thing that I do is if there is something like that, if there is a question, I refer it to our case manager for legal assistance in that, because I wouldn't even begin to figure that out. But yeah, we run into all kinds of different legal issues. Now, if it's dynamic and it's a child abduction, and it's, those kind of things. Um, yeah, I mean, we do what we can as far as the search and then, figure it out, but most of what we do is going to be information and resources to that law enforcement agency, and most of the time they're going to figure it out. Yeah, for a family, if you're looking for family resources, that can just be obtained by the family. I mean, directly through NCMEC. That doesn't require a law enforcement reporting, but to be able to assist, there has to be some kind of a report that this child is missing. You know what I'm saying? Just for the basic assistance of being able to find that child. I mean, and I would assume that that's what the main goal would be, is to find that child. And so yeah, there are resources out there that don't require law enforcement assistance, like resources for families, resources for recovery, for what happens afterwards, and that kind of thing, for the healing part. But I would assume that most of our help when it comes to missing is going to require some type of law enforcement assistance. Now, the training and the prevention and all of that doesn't really require anything other than contacting us and having somebody, provide some of that training and assistance.
Thank you. We have Ella here. She has a question for you. You keep speaking to the owl. Can you hear me? This is Ella Wilson.
Yes.
Good morning, David. I
Good morning.
first met you at El Rancho in Gallup, New Mexico.
Oh, okay. Well, welcome.
Anyway, as far as Navajo children, the Navajo Nation has statutes in law that says any Navajo child, the Navajo Nation has jurisdiction over them in child custody cases, jurisdiction, delinquency, anything in the children's code. So if a child is abducted, then they can be involved if they're notified as well. But I know that in child custody cases, say there's a custody case in another state, other than Navajo, in a state other than Navajo Nation, then that the people involved, the Navajo families, can actually ask that it be transferred to the Navajo court. So that's where the jurisdiction of a minor child for Navajo is. I just wanted to include that.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate that. And I think from listening to you, not only at our dinner but also at the event, I think, and I know that you are also a great resource for that, because this is something that would definitely be above what I would do, because that's something that's always considered a little tricky. Jurisdictions and family custody issues are tribal family custody issues are tricky, especially for me, but for us as an organization. And so on that, I would definitely defer to experts like you because yeah, that's a tough one for me. That is a great question, and I would have to refer you to our analytics on that because I just don't know. Um, what I can say is that when that case comes to me, and usually it's a dynamic case, um, that I'm looking at what are the facts of the case that they've given me? How can I use our case analysis to actually get the information that I need, and then I'll take off in my search and go in the different directions. Every missing child, every child that is exploited, that's missing, is extremely important to all of us. So all I can do is um, work with the resources that I have to find every single one of our children. That's not a specific answer for you, but I can assure you that it doesn't matter what um, the child, the resources and the effort are going to be there with all of our communities. And yes, I would refer you to our analytics team because they would definitely know. And I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for the opportunity to do this. Obviously, you are all very dedicated to ensuring the safety of our kids, our Native community, and I want to thank you for all that you all do for so many. It's very important work.